Alrighty, so probably short of carpeting, this should be my last day doing build on this car. I've now started to cut the timber. I've got a sheet of 12mm ply. Started to cut the timber and everything to make the bed platform or the shelf. I think I'm going to be pushing it to get enough to make a drawer out of it. In all honesty, I think I'll be a little bit short for it, but I'll see how we go. If I can't do the shelf, if I can't do the drawer today, then in a week or two I'll have to grab another sheet and then I can do the drawer out of that. But for now, I should, out of this piece here, I will definitely get the shelf, the 3 legs, the shelf, get all that built up and in place. And if the rain holds off, I might be lucky to get it carpeted, but I really don't know about that today. So yeah, as you can see, I've already cut a nice big chunk out of here. I've got one side sitting over in the garage and another side over here ready to be cut down to shape. That will be the passenger side to fit up around the cupboard that I've built. So I've already got an angle for the curve of the plastic trim cut out, and I'm about to cut out the piece to actually fit in and around the cupboard. So that'll be all for that. I've marked out 2 legs here. I've worked it out, it's about 31.5 centimetres high, so it's 315mm. I'm cutting these legs at 305mm high, and that's giving me the 12mm difference for the ply. So there will be a slight height difference, but that 2mm I don't think you're really going to feel. Once you put the carpet in, it may turn out to be 5mm, but again, I really don't think you're going to feel it. And if you do, it's not hard to knock 5mm off the bottom of the legs. As for the timber, I've worked out the measurements for the fridge that I've ordered. That's 440mm wide, so 44 centimetres. They say to have 2 centimetres either side for clearance, for airflow. So I've cut it at a total of 50. That gives me just under 2 centimetres either side and 12mm either side for the ply, obviously. So again, I'll probably have to just nick a little bit off the side of that just to allow for the carpet. But otherwise, that's cut to size, about to be cut to size and shape. The legs will go in. I'll see how we go, as I said, about carpeting. But I'll get these legs cut out now. I'll get the other part of that cut so I know where I'm at, and then I'm left with this last little piece, which will be the 3rd leg. I can cut the 3rd leg out of that, and again, see how I go about trying to do a drawer. It is long enough, it is wide enough, but I don't think I'll get both sides front and back out of it. I really don't see there being enough timber there for that. So yeah, smack this part down and see where we go from that. Okay, so I've now cut the carpet for the top 2 pieces. I've just cut it square because I haven't worked out the exact dimensions and everything. Now I'm going to do the carpet for the legs. Now I need 3 of these, and I was hoping to get the lines running horizontally on the legs here, but unfortunately there's not quite enough carpet to do it. So I've got to do it vertically up and down. Not a big deal, it just doesn't look quite as good. The one thing I do have to remember is the carpet needs to go all the way around. So on all 3 legs, the carpet not only covers one side, it covers both, and therefore needs to wrap all the way around like so. So I really need to make sure I'm cutting enough, and then there'll be enough to do all 3. With the legs, because they do screw into the main framework, into the top, they don't need to be covered top and bottom. They just need to be covered all 4 sides. So rather than moving it down and leaving a little bit to fold there, I can push this right up to the top here, and then cut right at the bottom there to keep that nice and tight, and then continue on with the other 2. Okay, so I've got both tops and a set of legs cut out. One of the legs I've had to make a little shorter because I do have the fan and the 12-volt input on the cupboard, so I've had to make that leg a little bit shorter to allow for the extra room for them. Now, as you can see with the tops, well, this side anyway, I've done the same thing with all pieces. I've made them a little bit bigger than the carpet, a little bit bigger than I need. I normally leave about 50 mil or so difference, or minimum of. And then that way I can pull the carpet tight, staple it down, and then just trim off any excess. So I like to start front to back because that's where I want most of the tension. And because I've got the vertical line, I can kind of try to make it so that this sits as straight as possible. So I can use the vertical lines that are already on the carpet as a guide to get it to actually sit as neat and as tight as possible. When stapling, I always do one in the centre and then one on the outside, and then I can come back through it and add the centre ones in to fill the gap. Make sure it's going to stay in nice and tight. Swing at 180 degrees and pull it as tight as you can, and same thing in this end. Okay, so that's the top side covered. Once they've had a good vacuum, they'll look good, nice and tight. There's not a lot of play in it. Over time it will stretch a little bit, you will get a little bit of a bubble in it, but it'll stay pretty good, neat, tidy and solid. Now to do the legs. Okay, now for the legs. I'm starting on the smaller one, simply because I think it's just going to be the easiest one to get out of the way quick. Now, you want to grab the whole thing, wrap it around. I might use the larger side to do that. This is simply just the top end of another piece of offcut, so it is a little bit larger on one side. So the idea here is set it up, throw a couple of quick staples in just to give it a bit of support for the moment, and then grab this end, wrap it right round and make sure it's going to fit properly. So you always want to make sure it fits properly before you go put a lot of staples in, because if it is slightly skew-if, it's only a couple of staples you've got to pop back out to readjust it. Now, pull this nice and tight. I'll push it up just a tad that side. A little bit narrow there. Not a big issue, but it's a little bit on the narrow side. So again, pull it around nice and tight. Make sure you pull it all sides too. If you just pull from the top, it's only pulling the top section. It doesn't bring the bottom side around tight. So you've got to make sure you do all sides of it. It's a little bit tricky to get it neat and centered and whatever else. Yeah, that's pretty good there. Now the other reason I said not to worry too much about the staples in the bottom side is because you're going to put more in here. This section here is going to be at the back where you're behind everything, and it's actually going to be facing the cupboard. So you're not going to see these staples at all, you're just going to see it neatly, tightly wrapped around the legs. And then you just come through with a standing knife. Not too tight because you don't want to cut the piece behind it. You don't want to cut through the bottom layer, so you don't want to push it too hard. And then you just trim it down. And it's bloody typical. I'm on the last piece. The last 3, 5 screws that I've got to put into it. Now it's starting to rain again. Now obviously the car needs a good clean up and a good vacuum. But there's the final piece of the shelf in place. I'm not too sure I've always had the same thing here, just a little lip to hold the second shelf up. To be honest, I'm not really sold on it with this one because it's smaller. I normally use 20mm or 25mm particle board with the other ones. This is only 12mm ply. I'm not real sold on it. It's on a very narrow section, so I may end up doing another leg or just putting some brackets in and making it into one piece. I'm just not sure yet. It will make it harder to take out if I want to, but it might turn out to be a better, stronger option. And there it is. So that's in, that's complete. I'm happy with that. I've still got easy access to the two 12 volts under here in the USB. Still got easy access to everything in here. Had to readjust this loop. Okay, so that doesn't actually open now with it. There, that's easy. And then I've still got easy access to everything in there. There we go. So it's in. Again, I'm not too sure if I'm happy with this. It seems alright, but it does seem like just that little bit of wrong movement, pushed sideways a little bit or something, it's going to drop off. So I think I'll probably end up putting a couple of small L brackets in there just to give it that bit of extra strength.